Welcome, everyone. We are very excited to have our session, as she said, Build Without Burnout, focusing on your health and well-being. I'm Irena Sargent. I am your moderator for this wonderful panel. Thank you to MasterCard for including such an important topic in today's discussion. So often as we look at the world of entrepreneurship, there's a ton of conversations about the money, about the raising, about the team, about the tech, your tech stack, but so often our health and well-being gets missed in that conversation. And for those of you in this grind with me, I think you know very well how important it is to focus on yourself and how that dictates your success. So today we'll be talking about burnout, about well-being, about what you can do about it. As well, at the end, we'll be saving some time for Q&A. So get your questions ready. We will cover as much as we can. As I said, I am Irena Sargent. I am a burnout relief strategist, speaker, and founder and CEO of Hooky Wellness. Yes, like play hooky. It is a burnout relief education program. And through my work, I equip and empower high-achieving leaders and their teams to recognize and act on the early warning signs of burnout, take more restorative breaks, and build relief into the everyday ways that we work. This is not what I plan to do with my life. Let me just say that. I'm a classically trained brand marketer. I got the MBA, I got the degrees, I got the jobs, and I was like, WTF, it hit a point where working harder was no longer working. And that was not something I was ever trained for, especially being from Detroit, where you are just conditioned to grind. And so with that understanding is how I started to go down the path and understanding burnout and well-being. And now through my work at Hooky, I've equipped and empowered over 5,000 professionals across teams like Google, Netflix, LinkedIn, really to start prioritizing our well-being just as much as we are working. And so with today, it's really important. I'm very excited for this conversation because entrepreneurship path is covered with bumps, bruises, and other B words. And it's really not for the faint of heart. And so there's a higher chance for success when you are prioritizing your health and well-being in that journey. And so with this, I cannot have a conversation like this with myself. And so I'm very excited to welcome our three panelists. So first we have Dr. Lakeisha Holman. Dr. Lakeisha Key Holman is a mission-forward visionary, author, and social entrepreneur. Since founding the Village Market in 2016, Dr. Holman has served over 1,440 businesses and facilitated $8.8 million in sales to enterprise and $800,000 in grants. She's also the founder and CEO of Our Village United and the Village Retail, which, small plug, if you haven't checked out that store, it is on the second floor. Dr. Holman is the author of No One is Self-Made, Build Your Village to Flourish in Business and Life. In this transformative book, she dismantles the myth of individualism, showing how collaboration and community can establish economic prosperity. Several esteemed brands have featured Dr. Holman, including Forbes, Essence, Black Enterprise, Google, CNN, Good Morning America, just a few, The Today Show, Aspen Global, Inclusive Growth Summit, Bloomberg, the National Urban League, and Hope Global Forum. She is also an Invest Atlanta board member and serves on the board of trustees for Tougaloo College. Tougaloo. My apologies on that one. I was right there. We have Chantel Cohen. Chantel is the founder and CEO of CWC Coaching and Therapy, where she and her team of therapists and coaches provide mental health services through business coaching lens. She's a licensed psychotherapist that specializes in individuals, couples, and especially entrepreneurs. She does co-founder counseling, and especially if there are couples that are co-founders. Chantel herself is on a mission to empower entrepreneurs, business owners, and founding duos. Known for her open communication and unwavering transparency, she has worked with corporate partners like Google, Coca-Cola, and Lenovo, advocating for the vital link between mental health and professional success. Central to her approach is the Become One Again method, a strategic framework designed to address mental health challenges unique to entrepreneurs. And last but not least, we have Elena L. Brown, a dynamic force in the world of holistic wellness. Elle is a certified holistic health coach, yoga instructor, herbalist, and wellness advocate whose journey began on a deeply personal mission to heal her daughter's skin health issues. Through her experience, Elle dove headfirst into the world of holistic health, discovering the incredible healing powers of fruits, vegetables, and herbs. With a passion for making wellness accessible, Elle creates practical, inclusive, and shame-free content through her handle, Get Well with Elle, that empowers others, particularly Black women and entrepreneurs, to embrace natural healing. Please join me in welcoming all of our esteemed panelists. So as we dig in, I always like to start in getting beyond the bio. So would love to learn a little bit more about each of you, your work, your journey, and I always have to make a plug, your favorite way to spend a hooky day. So let's start with you first, Dr. Key.
First, hey everybody. It is so good to be here. MasterCard, thanks for putting on this needed and beautiful event. So I want to make sure I'm answering a question.
A little bit more about your journey, your work, and your favorite way to spend a hooky day.
Okay, so
that's the hardest part.
Can I start by telling you all who I'm the daughter of? I'm the daughter of Carolyn, may she rest in peace, the daughter of Roger, the granddaughter of Josephine and Henry, Miss Bobby Jean in Mississippi, and also Hurley, and the great-granddaughter of grandparents that I got to know. Beyond all this, got to know and love and be loved on. Because before we do any of this work, we are the product of people. So I come to you today as a fully actualized Black woman that has been loved on so much by my family in a little small town in Batesville, Mississippi. And they allowed me and gave me the freedom to dream big, to dream expansively, to not have barriers to what I desire for myself. So we're going to talk about the work that I do, but you have to know who I am the daughter of first, because they really poured everything in me so I can sit before you today and do the work that I do.
Love that. Well, my journey, thank you for having me here. My journey began as a young person as well. I was raised by my grandparents, and I lived next door to a family of 7. Across the street from me were the Jacksons, 11 kids. Next to the Jacksons were the Campbell, 5 kids. And next to the Campbells were the Bews, 5 kids. And there was me, all by my lonesome. And every evening I hated going in because I didn't have siblings. And so I made it my mission when I was a little kid. I made sure I introduced myself, my friends when they had problems. I was a little one. I'm not kidding, like 5, 6 years old. And my friend Benita and Cherie would get into arguments, and I was there to help referee it. So my journey began just as a little girl. And my favorite way to spend a hooky day is, believe it or not, I like to stay in my pajamas. I have 3 kids, and what we do is we make a big brunch. And that brunch, everybody takes over a role. We put on music, a lot of times it's Motown. And then after that, we have a hot tub that we bought during COVID. We get in the hot tub, and sometimes we watch a movie or we watch sports. But for me, that is an absolutely perfect day.
Oh, that's good.
Amen to the pajamas. Okay. I'm Elena Brown. I go by Elle. Dr. Lakeisha, we neighbors, girl, because I grew up in Louisiana, New Orleans to be exact. And how I fell into health, nobody will ever know, because the food is good back home. The food is good and the living is easy, and working out was never a part of the deal. Yoga, my mama still be, well, what are you doing down there? You know, I live in North Carolina now. I'm in Charlotte. So they don't quite get it still. But to what Irena said, I am a health coach. I am an herbalist. I fell into this. I always tell people it is my purpose work. I feel like God carved that path for me. It was not something that I went after. It came from a need, a deep, deep rooted personal need and experience. And through that, you have this aha moment, like, wait a minute. I've been going to the doctor all this time and nobody told me that I should eat fruits and vegetables and get some rest and
With gumbo.
Yeah, they didn't tell me that. You know, it was gumbo and jambalaya. Eat good, girl, you know. So again, it came from a deep, deep need within. And once I made that discovery, I was on a mission. You couldn't stop me. I was like, oh, they need to know. People need to know these things. Women like myself that look like me, that don't have access, need to know these things. So that's what set me out on the journey. And the best way to play hooky for me is, again, staying in my pajamas, eating something in my bed, and silence, just quiet, Yeah.
Thank you. Do you want to add your favorite way?
Well, last weekend, the best way to play hooky was watching Forever on Netflix.
Oh my God.
Y'all, I could not get up. I'm crying, cheering, all this in one series. So that was last week. But normally, my best way is something you said, quietness, and that alone time heals me. So I spend a great deal of time in solitude with just myself and God, and it always restores my soul.
Thank you. Thank you for humoring me. So often we overlook things like playing hooky, taking time for yourself as a way to your well-being. So thank you for entertaining that. So getting more into health and wellness and mental health specifically, because we are here to talk about burnout. So a couple things to be aware of. Burnout, by definition, is a state of mental, physical, and emotional exhaustion brought on by chronic and prolonged stress. So often we are now discounting it, saying it is just the same as stress, but it is not the same. And if anyone has ever experienced it, they know that it takes a lot more work, energy, focus, and intention to do something about it and find your way to recovery. So it's really important to have these conversations when you are ahead of it and before you have no other choice but to do something different. And so when we think about it, it gets dismissed, but it is so rampant. Before the pandemic, burnout was impacting over 77% of professionals. Before the pandemic. And when you look at entrepreneurs, 38% of surveyed entrepreneurs say that work-life balance is one of their leading sources of stress, outside of the financial pressure, of course. And then when you think about the solitary nature of entrepreneurship and business ownership, it brings elevated health risks, such as 29% increase in heart disease, a 23% increase in stroke risk. Those are some really important things to start paying attention to and really highlight. The flag is already raised that this is an important part of your life. So as you think about your journey in entrepreneurship and just in your life, was there a moment in this journey when you realized that your well-being needed to be a higher priority? I'll start with you, Elle, on this one.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm a mother. I have a 17-year-old daughter. She graduates from high school on Saturday.
Good job.
Crazy. And I also have a son who is 14. And I used to think that the more I did as a mom, honey, that badge, I wore it like honor until I became irritable. I became just overall unwell in my physical body. And I had to take a break. I was forced to take a break physically because my body your body keeps the score. I don't know if you guys have ever read or heard of that book, but whether you want to or not, mentally, whether you think you can or not, when you can't, your body will tell you. So there came a point where I was like, you know what? I am not as good as a mother as I think I am, or as I want to be, because I'm not taking that time. And so that was a pivotal moment for me when I realized that badge wasn't really, that was kind of fake. That was a pretentious kind of thing that I was wearing. And so I'll never forget, I took a solo trip. I don't know if you guys have ever taken solo trips, but if you haven't, I highly recommend it, to Puerto Rico. It was just me. And for the first time, I didn't have to think about what anybody else wanted to eat. I didn't have to think about what anybody else wanted to do. I could lay, I could go on the beach, I could go eat. I could do nothing. I could stroll. And that was so healing for me to do. And also very, very difficult. I had a lot of anxiety just getting to the airport because I'm like, well, what if something goes wrong? And does everybody have anything? And did you pick up what you needed from school? And wait, I don't know. What if the plane crashed? Like, it was just a whole bunch of foolishness that almost kept me from paying attention to myself. So I think that it's important to stop before your body tells you to stop. Rest is not a reward. It is necessary. Okay.
Should I go next? So in my profession, burnout oftentimes signals anxiety and depression. And we know that 72% of entrepreneurs during their tenure as an entrepreneur will have some sort of mental health challenge. So I'm lucky enough to be in this profession. And so when it hit me was 2014, my husband was working in Tampa, and he left on Sunday night and came home on Thursday. And at that time, my kids I had a 15-year-old son, a 10-year-old son, and an 8-year-old daughter. And all three were in different schools. And I could feel myself starting to break down. And so I immediately started talking to a therapist, and I started doing transcendental meditation. And I've been a meditator. I meditate twice a day, in the morning for 20 minutes, and I meditate at 4:00 in the afternoon. Sometimes I move it to like 3:30 or something, or 4:30. But I will tell you that it has been so restorative. I also have joined a prayer group that I belong to, and we pray from 6:30 to 6:45. And I'll tell you that the silence and the prayer, those are different, and they edify me in different ways. But I'm telling you, if I didn't do those things, if I didn't know, I was really headed for burnout.
I remember, I think it was maybe 2017 or 2018. My company, the Village Market, started doing extremely well. I still had a full-time job with Godot, Georgia Department of Education. So in the beginning, when I was doing both things, of course, the department took the majority of my time. And I was in the early stages building in 2015, 2016, building Village Market. So it didn't take all of my time, it took some. But if you all have built anything, you know that there comes a time when who you were and who you're getting ready to become, they start to conflict with each other. And so there was a conflict. Village Market decided it was going to be the number one in my life. And I was like, Village Market, you don't even pay me. How dare you decide that you're going to be number one? And Godot was like, so how you decide you're not going to focus and we pay you? So a conflict. But y'all, I tried the best I could to be in deep relationship with two things. And to be able to give fully of yourself to something, you have to commit fully. But I was still trying to commit being 100% relationship with both. I was not sleeping. I was tired all the time. When I showed up for family events, I wasn't fully present. I was distracted. And I told you all a moment ago, quiet time is typically what soothes me. Quiet time became uncomfortable for me. Not to plug my book, but to plug my book. I write about these things in a book because I was experiencing decision fatigue. Being a new entrepreneur, I was experiencing imposter syndrome because I knew all the stuff about being an educator. But now people are asking me to speak about entrepreneurship, and I'm like a newbie in this space. I should not be on your stage. But more importantly, I started to feel burnt out. In the book, The Body Keeps the Score, my body was keeping the score. I remember looking at myself one day in my rearview mirror, and I was like, whose face is that? Whose eyes are those? Whose skin is that is not normally radiating? But there's a dull there. And how I know I'm in alignment with something, y'all, I have a deep love for it. I started to detest the way that God was blessing me because it was so heavy. And we know it's not meant to be heavy. But what I was not willing to do was to let go of who I was to become who I was meant to be. And because of that, I had to carry that burden that was impacting my well-being. So now I go to therapy every Monday, y'all. So y'all can clap for her because she's real good. But my therapist told me that, number one, the way that you feel, you are burnt out. You need to take some time to disconnect. You need to do some soothing, and you need to get clear on if you're going to go on this path, what is it going to take you to let go of to commit to this path? Y'all, I luxuriated for about 6 weeks. And I got myself together. And I began to look at myself in the mirror and recognize who she was and who I was becoming, and made peace with that. But I do remember a time where it became so hard that I didn't like the blessings. And after I got past it, decided to give Village Market everything, so glad that I did, I started to build and think about our Village United, my nonprofit organization. And I knew that when I built our Village United, that every entrepreneur in the village would have access to mental health practitioners. I knew that wellness was going to be our anchor, not just us trying to help businesses scale, but to let people have to understand that the work of you is the greatest masterpiece that you would ever do in this lifetime. Your business is just the daughter or the son of that. And so I've been on this journey now, y'all, for a number of years, ensuring that I can protect entrepreneurs from what I fell into, that we can take care of our mind, soul, and spirit and allow our businesses to grow because of that, and not allow these businesses to grow and who we are shrink, and we don't even recognize who we are.
There's so much richness in all of these answers, so thank you all. Yes, definitely applause. So we touched on a number of things that we're not going to be able to dig into all today in a 45-minute session, but a number of notes about identity, about the different facets of you, not only as an entrepreneur, but potentially as a parent, maybe as a wife, as a partner, as a friend, as a child. There are a number of facets, and entrepreneurship is only one part of it, but there's only one you in the midst of it all. And so making sure that you are maintaining yourself, you are creating your boundaries, you're finding your spaces of quiet and silence or whatever restores you. And once again, doing it before you absolutely need it. So want to highlight a couple of things to be aware of and signs and tells. And Chantel, I'm going to come to you in a second. But early warning signs we talked about, because we were saying it gets to a point where you have no other choice but to see something is wrong. But it really starts with feeling completely exhausted, where no amount of sleep helps you feel rested. Naps aren't doing anything for you. You start to pull away from the things that bring you joy. The things that you used to love are no longer fulfilling you in that way. You are actually starting to neglect your basic needs. Oh, I'll sleep later. Oh, I'll eat later. Oh, I will put that hobby down for now. Those things that help to restore you start to pull away from those things. And then in the accelerated parts of the cycle, that can manifest into early warning signs of depression or even acute depression. You can start to have PTSD-like symptoms. You can start to trigger other health issues that are severe. Chantal, are there any other things that you will highlight as warning signs that people should be aware of, that this is no longer normal stress and I absolutely need to do something about it?
People will start to notice that you are not yourself. They may ask you if you're all right. You may not take joy in the things that you used to take joy in. I specialize in working with co-founding duos and people who are married. And my married folks will say things like, we're just roommates. This is just the LLC of our lives. We no longer have sex anymore. Everything we talk about seems to be surrounding the business. And so there's this, it starts to almost take over. It sounds awful, but like a virus or a fungus. It starts to not only affect self, but it affects the way you lead, and it will affect your most personal relationships. At CWC, we say that the way you are is the way that you lead. There's a big myth that when we're leading, that we just turn everything off, and somehow we don't bring any of that to work. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I've worked with people who brought all of their to work, and you dealt with it. And we try to do a really good job as leaders, as entrepreneurs, of putting on that face that, okay, I'm a strong Black woman, I'm going to do the, and what happens is the load, it's called the mental load. There's a great book called Fair Play by Eva Brodsky, and she talks about the mental load. So one of the things other people won't see is the distraction that's there. That even when people are talking to you, you find you're not even taking it in because all you're thinking about is your business. So there's also mental health conditions like ADHD that start to reveal itself because you can't think about anything else, or anxiety. I have people who have told me that they cry before they go into their office. But the thing that a lot of people don't talk about is anger. Anger shows up a lot. And so if you find yourself where the reaction doesn't match what's happened, you know that you're in that ballpark as well. There's a lot of other things, but I know that we've got some really esteemed women here who can also speak to that as well.
Well, that is amazing. I want to build onto it because I see our time ticking down, and I don't want to leave us in a point where it's like, wah, wah, like, yes, I feel it, but now it's a matter of what can we do about it? Or if you are not feeling it, what can you do about it so that you can avoid those feelings? And it's really important to have these conversations and talk about support and help, because a study of entrepreneurs showed 77% of them were not getting any type of professional help from a psychologist or a coach. And you know how hard it is. And especially if you are a solo entrepreneur, then you really have nowhere to take your emotions, your feelings as you are going through this growth journey. So one of the things I do in my work is I talk about the 4 pillars of mental wellness, which are growth, rest, play, and community. So everything from brain development to resting your body and your spirit, to playing and finding some creativity and energy, to connecting with others or things beyond you. But what is the big thing about wellness, well-being, and your health is that there's no one way. It's about finding the ways that work for you. And so I want to ask all of our panelists to give us an overview of how do you prioritize your well-being while running a business? Because so often as we talk about being high achieving professionals or entrepreneurs, it makes it seem as though we have to pick and choose one or the other. So how do you integrate your well-being into the way you work?
It's hard. It is still hard, even with me being in the profession that I'm in, to the point where we talked about burnout earlier. I know you guys know, as being entrepreneurs, content. Like, that is the name of the game, right? As far as marketing and advertising. So for a year and a half, I posted content every single day without a break, every day. There was a reel, I was juicing, I was doing yoga, I was doing something, I was putting up a meme, but every single day. Now, it did yield results. It was wonderful. But at the 18-month mark, I was like, nope, we can't continue on like this. And so I took a break. So number one, don't be afraid to take a break. And I didn't care about metrics. I didn't care about engagement. I didn't care about who saw me. If they saw me, I'll start all over again, but I cannot continue on in this fashion. So to your point, how can you integrate these things? Start small. Whether it's 5 minutes in the morning, you sit and you do a meditation, or you write one line in your journal each day. I love journaling. It has helped me profoundly, writing my thoughts, getting them out of my head. So it's not like swirly. I call it swirly. When you're thinking of so many things, you don't know the first place to start. I think as entrepreneurs, we handle so many things. As solopreneurs, we're doing it all ourselves, wearing so many hats. So start small. If you want to change your diet, that's an important part of this process too, taking care of your physical temple, right? So eat an apple. I always tell people, instead of pulling things away, add things in, because pulling things away can feel not so good, and you're more likely not to be as consistent with the things that you're trying to do. So add an apple. Add some vegetables to your meal until you realize, oh, I could do without that bag of chips because I had, some peanut butter and apples that day. So small steps lead to big impact.
Oh, it's so funny. I'm looking over it. I love what you just said to sort of piggyback on that, Elle. There's a great book called Atomic Habits. I'm sure a lot of you have read that book. It's great. It's by a guy named James Clear. And there's also a podcaster called Jay Shetty. And so this is his concept, not mine, but I've used it for a very, very long time. When I tell people like the things that I do, I've had the same trainer for 20 years. I do cardio 4 days a week. As you guys know, I meditate twice a day. People are like, how do you do all these things? And there's kind of other things that I do as well. Is one, I get really creative about my day. So I look at it every single morning, and I typically will look before I go to bed, and I find the holes in the day so that if I have a meeting with my team, I'm going to walk during that meeting. I typically focus on my minimums. That's Jay Shetty, not my maximums. So today's a minimum day for me. I have a workshop to do at 6:00 tonight. I'm here with you all. I knew that I was going to get in 15 minutes of a workout, and that's okay. What happens, what people get sort of screwed up on basically is they add all these things and they try to do everything every day. I do 5 minutes of deep breathing. A minimum day for me would be 20 minutes of 5 minutes of deep breathing, a 20-minute meditation, and getting to bed at 9:30. That's a minimum day for me. People oftentimes, and what you're saying is, we're basically saying the same thing, is stop focusing on trying to do everything and just do things that are small and impactful. I showed up, it was yesterday, my 8 a.m., and I was in my workout clothes. I just grab a shirt, put it on over, and it looks like I haven't been working out. Voila. But I do these things so that, obviously I do in person and virtual, but obviously I can't do that for in person. But I tell people the skills are still the same. They're exactly the same. So stop trying to show up perfectly. Professionally, things have changed, and a lot of us, people are paying us for what's in here. They're not paying us for what's on the outside here. Be willing to not look your best, but you can always give all your intellectual property. That is what you're being valued for.
So many of the things that they named, I do as well. What I do know is that joy is the greatest resistance. So another way that I take care of myself is sourcing joy. The people that make me happy, the memes that I shouldn't probably be laughing at, I laugh at them. I'm DMing them to my friends. But these things make me joyous. The way that when I talk to my 9-year-old nephew and how he just gets so excited about the smallest things, I find myself being the receiver of his joy in my day shift. So I stay close to the sun. And that's what I think healthy people feel like, the sun. I stay very close because we know the sun heals. Other things that I do, I really mind my business. That has helped me so much. If it has nothing to do with me, it has nothing to do with me. And people who are not the most positive or optimistic person, boundaries, I talk to them incrementally. I don't start my day with them, and I don't end my day with them, because I'm very intentional on how I begin and end my day. Other things that I do, the way that I be drinking water, I drink water, I read my books, I go on long walks. There are moments when I'm at Piedmont Park and I take my sneakers off because I'm from the country now. I'm walking around the park, letting the ball of my feet touch the face of the earth. And I feel myself just being renewed. what I would end with is that what we have to remember that healing and wellness is personal. That you can listen to all these things that we are saying, all the podcasts, read all the books. It won't resonate if it's not for you. So you have to find what is for you and do more of that. You have to empower yourself to trust the boundaries that you place in your life and know that if some people leave, it was probably time for them to go. And take an exhale so you don't get afraid and run back because it feels unfamiliar. But the things that have helped me so much is that I don't strive to live anybody else's life. I don't strive to have anybody else's joy. I don't strive to run anybody else's race. The only thing that I aspire for is my lane, and let me live it well, let me live it fully, and let me be pleased with the woman that I wake up to and who I look in the mirror and who I pray to every night.
All right. Preaching today. Thank you all for that. You've gotten a number of great tips and tools that all of these women use. Everything from meditation, once again, moments of silent, quiet, staying connected to those who bring you joy, putting your feet on the earth, getting reconnected with nature. So a number of great tips and ways that you can start today. And as you think about how you work and how you can bring it into your workday, is one, just build it into your plan. You are making your goals. You're making your project plans. Include yourself in it. So it's not an afterthought. It is not something that you overlook. It is not something that you forget. If it's part of your plans and part of your objective, then it is part of your purpose and it will actually happen. So put it on your calendar. Also, a couple of things is you don't have to do everything. So really be honest about your goals and what you want to achieve in different periods of time. And also make sure that you have a community and support of accountability as you go through it, which I know all of these women will definitely attest to. So I want to save a couple minutes for Q&A. So just last question, if you could go back and in 1 minute or so, tell your younger entrepreneurial self one thing about mental health, what would it be?
The one thing that I would tell myself 10 years ago is that I am the most important thing, not the business.
Great. That's exactly the same. I think we're going to say a lot of the same things. I would just add that it's the people along the way. That I've been married 31 years and my husband and I have been together 37 years. And I can tell you that this relationship, I don't want to get too emotional, but this man has stood beside me through it all. And I would say that love deeply, have somebody who's there with you. It doesn't have to be a husband or a wife, but you do need someone. And so I would say that that's probably the most important thing that I've learned, how strong my husband makes me in these moments.
Yeah. I would say to my younger self, girl, give yourself some grace. Give yourself some grace. It is okay to fail, right? You'll do it a lot of times. You're going to fail and get back up. You're going to fail again and get back up. You're going to try something new and it's not going to work. And then you'll try something new and it will work. So allow yourself the space and the time and the grace to be able to try new things and see what works. And you won't always get it right away, but you will if you keep going. So, yeah.
I love that. So we can transition to take like 2 questions.
Yes.
And then we are going to wrap with a 1-minute meditation before we move into the next session. So.
Hi, this question is for Chantel, primarily because of what you just shared. So as someone who is at the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey and married and just became an empty nester, how did you maintain your close connection with your husband as you're raising the kids, doing the business and doing all the things? Because I found that since I left corporate, I work all the time, and hubby doesn't complain necessarily, but he says, you're always working, because I always got the laptop. If we ride on a road trip, I'm on the phone, I'm doing something. So how did you create that balance in your relationship to maintain that close connection?
A couple of things is one, making sure that you know what hat you're wearing when you come into the house. Set your intention. Know that even if you're just walking out of your office, know that the moment you're walking out as, I don't know what your husband's name is. My husband's name is Kevin. I'm Kevin's wife at that moment. And when I tell myself that, I know exactly how I'm showing up. Not as, co-founder of this LLC that we have as a marriage. I'm showing up as his wife. You would be surprised how dynamic that can be for your relationship, just knowing who you are. Because coming out and start talking about like, I'm not saying that's you. I'm just saying that that coming out and say, I had this hard day at work. And what about, hey baby, how was your day? When you come out as a wife, your focus is different, or a girlfriend or a partner, whatever that is. But I promise you, it's something that's so small, but it will change the course of your relationship just when you see your husband to do that simple thing.
Good afternoon, y'all. I'm Nasir Denise of Yoga Infinitum, and thank you all for your panel answers. My question is, how do we help people understand how important wellness is so they do take the time out before they get to their burnout? Because that's one of my biggest challenges, especially as a yoga instructor, convincing people like, no, really, find something that's not hard, not working out, but just silence and stillness.
You don't. You don't. You can't convince anybody of anything. You live it, you practice it, you stay closely, deeply connected to the work that you're doing, and you show up every day. But it is not your responsibility to convince anyone of anything. We are all on our personal journeys. I think it was Dr. Lakeisha that said that, this is not anybody else's race to run. And a lot of times it is when we face our backs are against the wall, or we come to some conundrum that we can't figure out, or we are in a really tough spot, that we have this epiphany or this aha moment, as Oprah would say back in the day. So I would say to you, release that responsibility on yourself and continue to show up in light and in love. And people will see that and be like, why are you walking around so happy all the time? They will see that and then be attracted to that. And then you'll have an opportunity to share what it is that you do, right? So attract, don't convince. That's my...
I would just add one thing, because I 100% agree. It is not your job fully. But I am quick to trick somebody. So I will take somebody on this journey with me and be like, you want to go to this class with me? And it's not a matter of convincing them, oh, they need to do this because I can see they're stressed out. It is something that is enjoyable, that I know the data behind it, that will impact them and how they feel about themselves, their well-being. But bringing people in the journey without hammering the end result, as well as there are some people who want to, but they never have time to. So if there's someone like with my husband, I will schedule his massage. I will schedule his float and be like, you have an appointment, because it never actually happens. And so if you can help people do things they want to do versus convincing them to start in the first place, I found that to be helpful, as well as definitely focus on you and be the illustration, because people see it, admire it, and want to be a part of what that experience and feeling is. So I see this clock ticking down really, really quick. Oh, we can keep. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Jackie Jones. I'm CEO of One Degree Marketing. I'm right here. Hey, based in Birmingham, Alabama. So I know that, the journey of entrepreneurship starts usually with one person and it evolves into teams and collaborations, contractors, employees, things of that nature. Any of you, all of you, whatever we have time for, what would you say is a helpful thing in maintaining your mental health when you're the leader, when you're growing a team, when you're bringing people into a culture? How do you find, what is that work boundary, or how do you show up, or what are just any tips you can give to all of us, and how you do that in leadership, even when it's just you and a contractor, and making sure that that space is healthy for everyone?
It also answers your question too. I build it into our company culture so that it's already there, so that your mission, vision, and values reflect the mental health part of your business. I think it's really, really important because, and I agree, you can't convince somebody, and yet sometimes people just need a plan, and they oftentimes don't have it. And so I would say to infuse mental health throughout your business plan. At CWC, so I'm a therapist and I'm a coach, and sometimes those people aren't always talking. And so what you want is your coach and whoever your mental health advisor is to help build that, infuse that right into the system and the vision and values of the company.
I'll be brief because I know we're out of time. As you all, if you haven't built your team, but you're in a process of doing so, I would tell you that I work across 3 teams at 3 companies. What has helped me is that I understand that I'm a resource. And when you understand the purpose of the relationship that you're in with someone on your team, when you are a resource, people need you. When you are a resource, sometimes the things aren't there. When you have to pull back a resource, sometimes people get mad at you. All I'm sharing is that to be a leader, you have to create a sense of separation in yourself so you can always be objective and fair. But you have to process the type of relationship that you are in. A person's financial security is tied to your vision, to your baby. And there are days that when they love you a lot, and there are days when they don't like you at all. And you have to be able to rise above the title of the days that they love you and believe that that's always real, and the days when they're mad at you and believe that that is always real. However you can get in a headspace, you all can get in a headspace to just be neutral and to keep somebody close to you that is objective. And also somebody who is objective that is also trying to protect you and also the business. Me having people that is outside of my companies that I can talk to have helped me so much. But I can't tell you enough the pressure of having to be all the things to all the people all the time. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. But it is one of the best feelings as well, because we get to build the company culture that we all desired for. We get to be the ones. We get to be the leaders. We get to create the healthy work environment. And if we see that as an honor, I think the way that we go into the work will be changed. But I would caution you, don't believe all the love, and also don't believe all the hate. Operate somewhere in the healthy middle.
Was there one more question?
No other questions from New York now because we're pressed for time.
Yep.
I did not know if you were can you close up the exercise in 1 minute?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So just going down the line, how can people find you, and is there one way they can support you?
Y'all, I wrote a book. It is entitled No One is Self-Made. The way that you can support me is buying this book. If you already bought the book, share the book, write a review. But it would mean a great deal to me if you purchase No One is Self-Made, and where I talk a great deal about well-being.
Hi, you can find me at chantelcohen.com, and that's CHAN, T as in Tom, EL, COHEN.com. And I have a couples program called Become One Again. And so you can also go to becomeoneagain.com. And lastly, my team, we have, as I I think you said aptly earlier, we worked for Google for Startups for 5 years. We did over 3,000 sessions. So those of you who know anyone in the nonprofit space or the for-profit space that supports entrepreneurs, we are an entrepreneur support organization. Thank you so much.
Hey guys, you guys can find me on at Get Well with L on all platforms. Shoot me a DM. I'm getting ready to launch a podcast, and it'll be conversations with other health and wellness professionals and advocates about small, practical ways to be well.
Awesome. And I'm Irena Sargent. You can find me on Insta at Chill Sargent. I'm also on LinkedIn. And I have burnout quizzes and break quality quizzes if you're like, where am I at, on my website. So with that, Elle, can you give us a 30-second breathing exercise to take us out?
30 seconds. All right. Okay. So I just want you to lower your gaze right where you are. You can put your palms face up if you are in the mood to receive, face down. If not, take a deep breath in through your nose. Exhale out through your mouth. Lower your tongue from the roof of your mouth. Relax your shoulders. Unclench your jaw. And we're going to do something called box breathing. It is great for stress, anxiety. You can do it right at your desk or at your computer if you're working. So you're going to inhale for 4 counts. You're going to hold for 4 counts. Exhale for 4. And then hold for 4. So we'll go through it. Inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4. One more time. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4. Deep breath in through your nose. Exhale out through your mouth. That's it. Thank you guys.
Thank you all for being here.